This is Sally. Hi, Sally. Sally's in recovery. We're proud of you, Sally. Today, we're going to learn how school and community prevention strategies affected Sally as she grew up. A spoiler alert, she wasn't impacted the way we hoped she would be. However, through the magic of technology, animation, and research-based prevention techniques, we'll travel back in time to make sure Sally benefits from our efforts. We're going to take a look at how Sally's engagement in well-meaning prevention activities had negative long-term impact on her behavior. Before we do that, I need to warn you, you might be challenged by seeing a bit of yourself in this video. But don't worry, I know you got into this field because you truly want to make a difference in young people's lives, and my goal is to equip you to do that. Now, let's learn a little bit more about Sally. Sally grew up at home with her mother and an older brother. Sally's mom used to be the life of the party, but now she's focused on keeping her job so the family doesn't have to move again. She wants the best for her children, but is exhausted by the time she comes home and likes to unwind with a few drinks every night. Sally's learned to avoid her mother when she's drinking. By middle school, it was clear that Sally's older brother picked up some of their mom's habits. He skipped school and was suspended after he got caught drinking in the school bathroom. Sally's best friends live in the same neighborhood and in similar situations. That's probably why they are friends. First, let's take a look at Sally's elementary years and see where we may have worked against her best interests, unintentionally, of course. Hey Sally, do you remember that place?
Yeah, it's my elementary school gym. It looks like we were about to go to the annual drug extravaganza thingy.
That's exactly right. Every spring, Mr. Fields puts on an incredible hour-and-a-half-long assembly to convince fifth graders to not do drugs in middle school.
Oh, super effective.
You're right again, Sally. Let's watch.
All right, children, please settle down. Settle down now. Thank you. It's time to begin the annual drug and alcohol-free extravaganza.
Oh, look, Sally. There you are in the second row.
Today, children, we're going to see all the terrible dangers of drug and alcohol use come to life. We'll talk about how drugs and alcohol will affect you when you're older. You'll get to do some role-playing, and we'll even have a guest speaker who nearly lost everything because of his drug use.
Hey, I remember these things being kind of fun. We got out of PE, got to watch gross videos, and pretend we were drunk.
Right again, Sally. You're on a roll today. Although they cost a lot of money and take a lot of effort to pull off, these one-time assemblies have very little impact on youth behavior or intentions to use alcohol and other drugs.
All right, kids. Now, here's a video of what can happen when you drink and do drugs.
Oh, gruesome.
You know, Sally, youth tend to be more concerned about social acceptance and immediate impacts of behaviors, rather than the long-term effects of particular behaviors or choices. Talking about consequences like stained teeth and bad breath is shown by research to have more impact than the distant threats of car crashes, lung cancer, or death. Fun.
Okay then, who wants to volunteer for some role-playing? I've brought drunk goggles. And action!
Oh, I love the goggles. It made everybody laugh, and we thought it was so cool to feel drunk.
Research shows us that unstructured role play like this and the use of impairment props like drunk goggles can actually result in peer reinforcement of antisocial behavior. In fact, there is zero evidence that drunk goggles decrease drunk driving, and there is no research that supports their use with the 10 to 17 age group at all.
All right, and now for the big finale. Our motivational speaker, a former drug user who almost died.
This guy was cool. He turned out all right. I bet he got paid $1 bajillion to talk to all of us, too. I wish I had $1 bajillion.
Me too, Sally. Me too. Even if their story is powerful, personal testimony normalizes drug use by reinforcing the idea that everybody uses. At-risk young people see the positive attention the classroom or assembly speaker gets, will hear that this person was able to stop using alcohol or other drugs, and the prevention message backfires. Indeed. Let's fast forward a bit to Sally's middle school years.
Oh no, please don't show any pictures of me back then. The outfits.
Here we are at your middle school, Sally. It seems like everyone is between their classes. Look, there you are. And there's Mrs. Swift putting up some flyers.
I kind of remember those. They had a lot of information about drugs.
Let's get a closer look.
Hey, Mrs. Swift, what is that? Oh, hi there, Sally. These are the posters that the high school health class made to teach you kids the facts about drug and alcohol use. This one shows you common street names of drugs and what websites to avoid so you know what to stay away from. The one by the cafeteria lists some myths and facts about alcohol and drug use. And the ones by the bathroom show how horrible people who do drugs are. Neat! Yeah, I remember those posters. The first one helped me understand what my brother was talking about with his friends, like what it did and how to use it.
That's right, Sally. Drug fact sheets and posters that describe methods of use, the street names of drugs, and potential benefits of use could increase experimentation in vulnerable children and youth, like you and your brother. This approach is considered by prevention scientists among the least effective educational strategies. In fact, there is significant data to demonstrate that fact sheets in the hands of middle school students show them how to defy adults and enhance peer reputation by engaging in risky behaviors. Knowledge is power, and with great power comes great responsibility.
Thanks, Uncle Ben. That poster was a little confusing when I was young. I couldn't remember what was myth and what was fact.
You know, Sally, research shows that people exposed to myth versus fact presentations are more likely to recall myths as facts. Scientists have termed this the illusion of truth effect. Put simply, myth busting is actually myth reinforcing. It is much more effective to simply state the facts and then repeat them over time. What did you think of the posters that showed all those people who drink and do other drugs?
Well, I kind of already knew that everybody was doing drugs.
Exactly. Focusing on sensationalized information about high rates of use normalizes the perception that everybody uses and undermines healthy teen responses to pressure to use alcohol and other drugs.
Some of the posters Mrs. Swift put up made me feel really bad about myself because they said that kids who drank or did other drugs were bad people. I felt like it was talking about me.
Are you trying to do my job for me, Sally? As kids grow up, they begin to develop their own set of core values that may be different than the families and institutions they are bonded to. Appealing to morality as young people are finding their own path to adulthood may produce the opposite effect of what we intend by compromising help-seeking behaviors and reinforcing rebelliousness. Now, let's move on a few years to see you in high school.
Oh boy, high school is when I started using pretty heavily.
Look, Sally, there's your high school principal.
Oh, I remember this day. Another drugs and drinking assembly. They dressed up in costumes and started pulling kids out of class an hour or so before the event. Every few minutes, they would pull a few more kids to show how many people died from drunk driving.
That's correct. And I'm sure right after this, your principal called everyone together to see some kind of mock car crash scene, right?
Yeah, fun. I needed a drink after seeing that.
Too bad this type of event doesn't work. Research shows programs like this to be ineffective at best and are likely to reinforce the behaviors they're trying to prevent. The research on mock car crashes and similar strategies is clear. They don't lead to positive behavior change. They actually produce increases in risky behavior. They're least effective among those who most need to change their behavior. They create psychological trauma, and they may trigger secondary traumatic stress and post-traumatic stress responses in some students and adults by recreating a trauma.
Interesting.
Indeed. It looks like your other teachers were busy at work putting up more posters during the assembly.
Those things were dumb.
What makes you say that, Sally?
Well, I was already drinking and doing some other drugs at this point, and everything was fine. I didn't have sores all over my body or teeth falling out. Those posters lied to people. I was just having fun with people who accepted me.
That's exactly what the research tells us, Sally. When exaggerated dangers, grotesque images, false information, or distant consequences are the focus of prevention strategies or curricula, teens tend to not believe the message and discredit the messenger. These messages are not appropriate for youth in their particular developmental stage, and researchers point out that fear arousal often backfires when youth have access to contrary information and experience, even if that information isn't true. Kids who are truly at risk won't connect their current behavior to those future images. In fact, researchers say some may actually rebel against your message and start using drugs in order to defy authority.
Thinking back, I did start doing more once I realized they were all lying. I just wanted to have fun and not think about my mom or brother.
What about now, Sally? How are things going?
Well, to be honest, I'm broke, sick, and I don't like the way I feel about myself. I wish things had been different back then.
Well then, let's rewind and see how things could have been better. But before we get into new techniques, let's have a quick chat. Knowing what works in prevention and what doesn't is vital to keeping young people from developing serious and lifelong issues with substance use disorder. Over the years, the prevention field has learned from past mistakes. As the field has matured, so has the knowledge base. We now know that not all prevention strategies are created equally. Many of the most common strategies being used by well-meaning parents, schools, and communities have been shown by careful research to be ineffective. Some well-known programs have even caused harm by unintentionally reinforcing pro-use attitudes, behaviors, or norms. However, there are many strategies confirmed by research that are shown to positively impact the healthy behaviors and choices of young people. These research-validated strategies are recognized as evidence-based programs and have been proven effective over time using the most rigorous evaluation methods. You've seen many common examples of ineffective prevention activities already today. Let's look at some of the more effective research-based strategies that can be implemented. If the goal is to influence the risk and protective factors of elementary-aged children, researchers recommend strategies and activities that build social competence, self-regulation, and academic skills. Look for prevention programs that develop skills like self-control, emotional awareness, communication, social problem-solving, and academic support, especially in reading. The Committee for Children's Second Step Program and Paxis Institute's PAX Good Behavior Game are superb examples of early supports that are recognized to produce both immediate and lifelong positive outcomes. If your goal is to influence the risk and protective factors of middle and high school age youth, researchers recommend strategies and activities that build academic and social competence. Look for prevention programs that develop skills like study habits and academic support, communication, peer relationships, self-efficacy and assertiveness, drug resistance skills, reinforcement of anti-drug attitudes, and strengthening personal commitments against substance abuse. Gilbert Botvin's Life Skills Training Program, Carol Gerber Alfred's Positive Action Program, and Student Assistance Services Project Success Program are prime examples of adolescent supports that are recognized to produce both immediate and lifelong outcomes. If your goal is to influence the risk and protective factors of families, researchers recommend strategies that enhance family bonding and positive relationships. Look for programs that develop skills like the use of positive parenting skills, especially supportiveness, respectful communication, involvement, monitoring, and supervision. Developing, discussing, and enforcing clear family rules on substance use, and increasing parental awareness and access to accurate drug education and information to enhance opportunities for family discussion. Carolyn Webster Stratton's The Incredible Years program, Family Works Parenting Wisely program, and Carol Comfer's Strengthening Families program are prime examples of rigorously evaluated programs that have earned recognition as highly effective parenting programs. The Washington State Excellence in Prevention Strategies list provides detailed information about these and many other evidence-based programs that may be a good fit for your school or community's needs. In addition to developing skills that impact behavior, knowledge, attitudes, and perception, many evidence-based programs use common strategies to reach these goals, like building social and personal skills, citing immediate consequences, communicating positive peer norms, involving youth with peer-led components, using interactive approaches, and implementing programs according to their intended design. Building social and personal skills. Interventions that build social and personal skills enhance individual capacities, influence attitudes, and promote behavior inconsistent with use. Not only are social skills vital to appropriate functioning in society and bonding with pro-social peers and adults, but research shows that young people with low social skills are likely to benefit from effective programs and practices. Cite immediate consequences. Youth tend to be more concerned about social acceptance and the immediate rather than the long-term effects of particular behaviors or choices. If you're going to focus on increasing perception of harm, citing consequences such as stained teeth and bad breath are shown by research to have much more impact than the distant threats of car crashes, lung cancer, or death. Remember, effective programs never cross the line into using fear arousal techniques. Communicating positive peer norms. Events, activities, and messages that communicate peer norms against the use of alcohol and other drugs act as community statements that reinforce no-use standards. Involving youth with peer-led components. In health class or other settings, drug units and activities that are peer-led or that include peer-led components are more effective than adult-led approaches. Using interactive approaches. Give young people opportunities to practice newly acquired skills through the use of interactive approaches. Approaches like cooperative learning, behavioral rehearsal, not unstructured role play, and group exercises give students structured opportunities to practice newly acquired skills and help to meaningfully engage them in prevention education programs. Implementing with fidelity. The key to ensuring the success of your strategies and activities, to creating the most significant and long-term impact in those you are trying to serve, rests in your commitment to implementing programs with fidelity to their intended design. Think about implementing evidence-based programs like baking a cake. If you follow the recipe as written, you get to eat the cake you intended to bake.
Like this.
Yep, just like that, Sally. If you change the recipe, who knows what will happen? Even small alterations in a program can lead to unintended consequences for our most vulnerable participants. Talking about ineffective and counterproductive strategies as you build the capacity of your community partners can be highly challenging for all involved, particularly if the practice under discussion has become a tradition, is close to your community's or partner's heart, or was their best response to a tragedy or other personal experience with substance abuse. It can be devastating to learn that our best intentions may have not helped as much as we thought, or actually contributed to increased risk for the very behaviors we're trying to prevent. As effective preventionists, we must learn from the lessons of our past and be willing to follow the evidence wherever it leads us.
Do it for us.
That's right, Sally. And it's important to be equipped for having these important conversations with our coalitions and community partners. Remember, relationships are the key to creating sustainable change in your community. So, be gentle, but move forward, knowing that we cannot work against Sally's best interests by supporting practices that reinforce trauma or the risk factors contributing to substance abuse. You are the expert. You are making a difference.
For me, for us.